Doctor of Philosophy in Educational Management and Bachelor of Science in Pharmacy degrees from St. Louis University, Baguio, and her Master of Science in Pharmacy degree from Centro Escolar University, Manila. She serves as an officer of the Philippine Pharmacists Association Incorporated, a member of the PRC Committee on Career Progression and Specialization Program for Pharmacy, a member of the Council of Advisors as the immediate past president of the Philippine Association of Colleges of Pharmacy Incorporated, and sits on the board of directors of the Asian Association of Schools of Pharmacy. She is also a member of the technical panel involved in the 2030 Pharmacy Roadmap Development, a project of CHED, TPPE, and UPCP Manila. She has earned several recognitions including Top 10 in the July 1996 Pharmacist Licensure Examination, Excellence in Research Award, Master of Science in Pharmacy, CEU, Manila, Presidential Awardee for Research, St. Louis University, Doctor of Philosophy in Educational Management, magna cum laude, the Outstanding Pharmacist in Pharmacy Education, Philippine Pharmacists Association, and the Distinctive Achievement Award, Excellent Pharmacy Educator from the CEU Alumni Foundation Incorporated. She currently serves as the Vice President for Planning and Research and the Founding Dean of the Outcomes-Based Education and Ladderized Pharmacy Program at the University of Makati. To share her research on pioneering the future of Philippine pharmacy education, a local university's quality OBE-based and ladderized BS Pharmacy program, we have the Juan M. Flavier Professorial Chair in Public Health 2024, Dr. Maria Faye Ninette Maximo Cariaga.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, Steph, for that kind introduction. Pwede pong pa. Ayan, sige, okay. Ayan. So it is with gratefulness and honor, with gratefulness and honor that I will be presenting this output, this research entitled Pioneering the Future of Pharmacy Education, the University of Makati's Ladderized, Outcomes-Based BS Pharmacy Program. Why this matters? So why talk about pharmacy education? So unang-una, bakit pharmacy? Pharmacy profession exists primarily because pharmacists should be able to help patients make the best use of their medicines. Now it has evolved. It's not only about medicines, but it's about health and health products. So pharmacy is evolving. Patient care, public health, industry, research, and entrepreneurship. So roles of the pharmacist is actually evolving in those areas of practice. Now, education must develop practice-ready, adaptable, resilient graduates, and it must keep up with global standards. And our university, the University of Makati, is paving or leading the way with our program, which is considered a national pioneer in ladderized OBE. So we are only the university, we are the only university in the Philippines that is implementing outcomes-based ladderized education for the BS Pharmacy program. So this is the vision of the Institute of Pharmacy where the BS Pharmacy program is housed. We envision to become the top-of-mind, innovative provider of relevant, global, relevant, fit-for-purpose pharmacy education in the next decade. Our mission to develop resilient, innovative, socially responsible, and excellent industry-ready pharmacists. So we have anchored our mission to the very mission of our university. So we have also adopted the RISE or the RISE core values. Big idea. What is ladderized outcomes-based education? So to simply put, when we say ladderized, there are multiple exit points. And when we say outcomes-based education, we need to have very clear, measurable graduate capabilities and attributes. So we have the brand of our graduates. And the very goal is to produce competent, employable, and adaptable professionals. So very UMak. Professor Lopez actually challenged me then, kaya mo ba na magkaroon tayo ng programa? Ayaw ko ng katulad ng iba. Ayaw ko ng may katulad. Gusto ko merong kakaiba. Kaya mo ba? So ito na po yun na kaya naman. Next. So the gap. The reason why this paper is crafted, ito po yung gap. Despite the evolving demands of the profession, limited studies have explored the educational outcomes and implementation experiences of outcomes-based. More so, ladderized BS Pharmacy program in Philippine universities, precisely because we're the first to deliver the model, ladderized model, but many universities, all universities already embraced the OBE or outcomes-based education. But despite that, there's still a lack of studies or literature providing evidence to such implementations. Next. So the objectives are as follows. The first one, what are the findings of the Institute's researches in terms of outcomes, strengths, and limitations of the 2012 and 2018 outcomes-based and ladderized BS Pharmacy program curriculum of the university? Second, what insights can be drawn from other objective sources of feedback, namely official PRC report on licensure examination performance ratings from 2016 to 2025, or 2024 rather, UMak CGCS exit survey results for graduating students, PRC, Professional Regulatory Board of Pharmacy visit results in 2023, and the PASCO preliminary survey visit results. And then third, based on the integrated results and in relation to the Philippine Pharmacy Roadmap, what priority agenda can be identified for the Institute's strategic plan over the next 5 years? Ano po itong Philippine Pharmacy Roadmap? This has been developed. It's a project of the UP Manila College of Pharmacy. This was in close collaboration by CHED TPPE. And I was privileged to sit as one of the members of the technical panel in the development of this roadmap. So this actually outlines the prospects, the plans, and the future, the directions of the pharmacy profession when it comes to education, practice, and regulation. So these basically are the methods that were used in these different researches by the Institute. Sources of evidence, Institute's researches on PILOS assessment, enhancements and innovations on the curriculum. The sources of evidence, these were reviewed. So innovations in the curriculum, licensure examinations performance, and then in addition, objective sources like PRC, or Professional Regulation Commission, Professional Regulatory Board official reports, accreditation findings, and graduating students' exit survey results were the sources of evidence. And then, as to the methods, quantitative and qualitative, basically survey method, self-assessment for the program learning outcomes. And then for the qualitative inputs, this was this was implemented using narrative essays or narratives gathered through open forum or discussions. And then as to the sampling techniques, particularly purposive and convenient sampling with total enumeration. It's because, of course, the population of the BS pharmacy students the population is small, and so it is just but proper that we do total enumeration combined with purposive sampling, and then convenience sampling for the focus group discussions and the open forum. And then descriptive and inferential statistics were used. And then, of course, thematic analysis, descriptive and inferential for the quantitative data, and then thematic analysis for the qualitative data. So the journey begins. In 2012, so we launched the BS Pharmacy program. This was based on CMO number 3, series of 2006. So policy standards and guidelines for pharmacy education in the country. So what we did, of course, as highly requested by then President Lopez, we incorporated courses on pharmaceutical management, marketing, and entrepreneurship. So it was designed actually to have the ladderized program, the ladderized model. Actually, the initial curriculum was to cover up until the 6th year. So first ladder is associate degree. After 2 years, associate degree. Associate in applied science, pharmacy technology. After 4 years, Bachelor of Science in Pharmacy. And then after 6 years, PharmD, or the Doctor of Pharmacy degree. However, preparedness should be evident in terms of faculty complement, capability training or capability of the faculty complement, and of course the readiness of internship sites, because internship sites should be with clinical pharmacy services so that PharmD students will be able to do their internship or their clerkship in these hospital institutions that do clinical pharmacy services. Okay, so we held in abeyance up to this time the implementation of the third exit point, which is PharmD. But formally approved is the 6-year associate, BS, and PharmD program for pharmacy. Next slide. All right. So for the 2012 curriculum, so 4 years, no? We implemented the 4-year BS Pharmacy program with an exit point associate degree. So we have conducted these researches in order to provide evidence when it comes to effectiveness of implementation, the evidence of having continuous quality improvement in the program. Purposely because, of course, for our stakeholders, our students, faculty members, and the profession that we truly serve. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so a total of 5 researches were conducted by the Institute. Now, important parts of these researches that we have conducted are as follows. So, voices from employers and graduates. So, what do the employers say about our graduates of this BS Pharmacy program? They said that our graduates, our UMak pharmacy graduates, are confident, they're ethical, accurate, they perform accurately, and they are teachable. Next, our graduates report strong instruction and practice readiness. This is across the different practice sites: hospital, community, manufacturing. During that time, there are only 3 areas of internship. So hospital, community, and manufacturing. But there are, of course, suggested growth areas, particularly on enhancing, improving, compounding skills, manufacturing skills, and research skills. Internship insights. Of course, internship, which is equally important as the delivery of learning in the classroom. It's equally important that we have a very a very good internship program, hands-on training for our students. So these are the insights that were generated from those researches. Our alumni appreciated that their internships connect theory to practice in their different internship sites, in pharmacies, in industrial sites, in hospitals, and other healthcare facilities. Their strengths are on pharmaceutical care skills, practice readiness again, and then employer satisfaction. So their employers value the attitude, the work skills, or the work ethics of our graduates. But then there are gaps as follows: alignment of site tasks with materials. So our alumni then mentioned that their internship manuals, the contents of the internship manuals, do not match with what they encounter in actual practice sites. So that was given as a feedback. And then some technical or professional habits that need to be enhanced. Maraming hindi nagpapaalam, mag-a-absent, malilate. So there has to be a reinforcement when it comes to valuing time, proper decorum, and just following what the organization or what the company gives as standard operating procedures. We also have this as a highlight: licensure examination performance. So we have 80 to 100% passing rate since 2016. This also means that our curriculum is aligned to licensure exam topics, and there is an evidence of preparation when it comes to taking the licensure examination by our graduates. And there is continuous improvement based on feedback. So in total, we have 187 registered pharmacists already. And then we have 183 registered pharmacists. We have a total of 187 takers of board exam. So 187 minus 183, we still have 4 remaining to become a registered pharmacist. Okay, so they have to challenge and pass the licensure examination. That's up to November 2024, as of November 2024. Okay. So in addition to all of those, what we also measure are the following: program learning outcomes, key outcomes from drug identification to overall community health. So we have program learning outcomes articulated in our CMO. Now, these program learning outcomes need to have corresponding performance indicators. Where did we get those performance indicators? We have generated the performance indicators through mapping. So we identified which courses in the curriculum would fulfill a specific program learning outcome. After that, those courses, with their corresponding course plans, we gathered them all and listed down the course intended learning outcomes. And then from there, we have listed all the performance indicators per program learning outcome. And the questionnaire was subjected to reliability testing and validation first, and then reliability testing. So we have 9 program learning outcomes, from drug identification down to contribution to overall community health. So I just hope that after this public lecture, all of you will be influenced and would definitely believe that the pharmacy profession is more than just dispensing medicines. So given these program learning outcomes, the competencies of a pharmacist would range from making patients make the best use of their medicines. That would cover research and drug discovery, down to market availability, extending to public health. So this pathway and all of the steps leading to that pathway, wherein patients and the community would be receiving these medicines and health products, all of those, the pharmacist would always be there. From drug discovery, market availability, up to public health. Okay. So what we measure, so licensure examination performance, the factors affecting the licensure examination performance of our graduates, we also did a study on that, particularly on administration and content alignment. So it was found out that, yes, the delivery of the curriculum, the content of the curriculum aligns with what the table of specifications for the board examination modules would have. And then feedback on the enhancements and innovations in the program curriculum, because we added or we incorporated PHAD courses, or administration, management, marketing, and entrepreneurship courses. So we also did a study on that, whether the incorporation was effective. And then, of course, the associate degree. If the associate degree is also very useful as part of the BS Pharmacy program. So as to the summary, these are the strengths of the pharmacy program, limitations, and then recommendations. So from practice readiness and real world alignment, strong foundational competencies, curricular innovations and industry linkages, positive industry stakeholder feedback, alumni growth and lifelong learning, and then licensure examination success. Limitations are as follows. Gaps were found in some technical and entrepreneurial skills. For example, in the conduct of pharmacological bioassays. So it came out as one of the limitations. In entrepreneurial skills, particularly on integrating pharmaceutical care in doing business. So it has to be reinforced that business should go together with pharmaceutical care, and thus there has to be pharmapreneurship. So those two should go together. And then lack of alignment of internship materials with practice sites, as mentioned, scheduling and punctuality issues, and licensure examination experience gaps. As to the recommendations, align, so these are the recommendations, the need to align teaching learning materials with practice tasks, further strengthen technical and entrepreneurial skills. In the delivery of these courses, we have a partner that is the marketing and sales executives of the pharmaceutical and healthcare industry. So they have been with us since 2012. Address scheduling and attendance concerns, enhance licensure examination preparation, sustain academe-industry collaboration, expand scope of assessment and evaluation. When it comes to the enhancement of licensure exam preparation, just want to point this out. We actually evaluate, or we actually analyze the ratings of our students per module. So hindi nila alam yun, no? Pero kasi nga, we should make sure na confidential yan and hindi namin i-expose. We should not be divulging their individual ratings. So it's only within our capacity that we do the analysis. We check which modules they are quite encountering difficulty. So yung mga mabababa na modules nila. And then we reinforce those which they are performing excellently, modules where they are performing excellently. So in the next academic year, we make sure that apart from enhancing the course plans, aligning them with the table of specifications, we make sure that we give enhancement lectures to those topics, with regards to those topics that our students encounter difficulty. So there is already that cycle of continuous improvement because of this feedback. Now, all of those information, all of those findings were already incorporated or were already factored in the design. But then, of course, we can only design up to this certain extent because still we are governed by CMO number 3, series of 2006. So what we did, there were adjustments because of the mandatory implementation of the K-12 program in 2016. And then, of course, we have freshman students who are all graduates of the K-12 of the senior high school program. And so the curriculum has to be ready when it comes to accepting these senior high school graduates. So CHED policy changes for Gen Ed courses were also factored in because of that. Now the results are, we now have clearer exit points and better licensure or job alignment given this new curriculum. So 2018 curriculum. So with respect to the ladderized model, after 2 years, just the same, they have the associate degree of applied science in pharmacy technology. They can already work as pharmacy assistants after graduation. On their 3rd year, they have the bachelor in pharmaceutical marketing degree. And then on their 4th year, they have the bachelor of science in pharmacy degree. And it is then that they can challenge the board examination. So for the 2018 curriculum, we have 5 researches. We have conducted 5 researches to document the effectiveness of implementation. All right? So kindly note that bullets number 3 and number 4, they are covered by the grant, this professorial chair grant. Okay. So for the 2018 curriculum, it's really, the implementation was really quite challenging because of the disruption caused by the pandemic. Okay, so we have migrated from purely online in academic year 2020 to 2021, academic year 2021 to 2022 for 2 years online. And then for academic year 2022 to 2023, we had the hybrid 50-50, 50% online, 50% on-site, second semester of academic year 2022-2023. And then for academic year 2023 to 2024, we have on-site, purely on-site delivery. So, lessons learned, ang pinaka-gist po, hybrid learning increased definitely accessibility and therefore gave more favorable achievement of program learning outcomes than purely online. And then came the on-site delivery. The program learning outcomes achievement, given the on-site mode, gave more favorable results than the hybrid learning mode. This means to say that among the 3 modes that we have gone through, all of us went through it. For the BS Pharmacy program, using the PLOS achievement or program learning outcomes achievement as measure whether they have achieved it or not, and thus the effectiveness of a particular mode. Among the 3 modes, the on-site learning mode gave the highest achievement of our students when it comes to program learning outcomes, evidence-based. So this means to say, but it is also note-taking that regardless of the mode used, all of our students, given the self-assessment of PLOS plus narratives, all of our students highly achieved the program learning outcomes descriptively. But if you would compare the overall mean, those who have undergone the purely on-site mode, they gave the highest achievement of program learning outcomes. All right. So to summarize, when it comes to the Institute's researches on, for the 2018 curriculum, we have the following strengths. So practice readiness and real-world alignment, strong foundational competencies, curricular innovations and industry linkages, positive industry stakeholder feedback, alumni growth and lifelong learning, and licensure examination success. Next. The limitations, gaps in some technical and entrepreneurial skills, mismatch between theory and practice, scheduling and punctuality issues, licensure examination experience gaps. These gaps were amplified by the disruption caused by the pandemic because the students went purely online, laboratory, hands-on experience was not really possible, and thus it affected their achievement when it comes to learning outcomes. So as to the recommendations, align teaching learning materials with practice tasks, further strengthen technical and entrepreneurial skills, address scheduling and attendance concerns, down to expanding scope of assessment and evaluation. All right, so for 2022, though this is no longer covered by this paper, just for the information of everyone, we now have a new curriculum aligned with the new CMO 25 series of 2021, and the first cohort is set to graduate in 2026. So, they were not covered. Their batch is not covered by the paper, by this research. So apart from the Institute's researches, I also gathered objective external feedback and exit interviews. So from Professional Regulation Commission and from the accrediting agency, PASCO. So commendations, the BS Pharmacy program has an innovative design, referring to the outcomes-based and ladderized model, board performance, industry links, and then recommendations were given with respect to improvement in the laboratory manuals, standard operating procedures, in the conduct of experiments, equipment, faculty development, and alumni tracking. So what do these external bodies and exit interviews say? So for the exit interviews, we gathered this from our Guidance Counseling Center. So students are resilient achievers and divergent learners. So when they were asked in which particular category would they consider themselves, they chose or they ticked resilient achievers. They are resilient achievers and divergent learners. So there's also positive feedback on institutional support. So they appreciate the generosity of the City of Makati because all of them are considered scholars. Affiliation fees included. These are funded by the City of Makati. And then internship alignment, employability, and then suggestions for advanced compounding, however, is evident, and further enhancement when it comes to research exposure. So in summary, these are the strengths, high licensure exam performance with respect to the objective sources of feedback, and then strong student satisfaction from 2022 to 2024. Our graduates have distinct identity. They consider themselves as resilient achievers. And then we have an innovative academic program. We have strong internship and external linkages, and a strong faculty research culture. For the limitations, again, we have infrastructure gaps, but on a different context now, because we need a more improved set of laboratory facilities, simulation areas, although we already have, but then there's a need to further improve it to align with global standards, and research equipment, including materials, chemicals, and reagents. The need for laboratory manuals, standard operating procedures, and test item improvements. These were also noted. And then alignment and integration gaps in OBTL plans. We need to further align our course plan outcomes with the institutional outcomes. And we have done this already, actually. Community extension and engagement, and then full-time faculty ratio. Obviously, we need more faculty members, more full-time faculty members for the Institute of Pharmacy. These are the recommendations: curricular review and learning outcomes alignment, facility and equipment upgrade, faculty development program, further strengthen community partnerships, enhance pharmaceutical sciences research, and then we need to reinforce the conduct of regular stakeholders' feedback, impact, and tracer studies. So with these results, with these findings, combining what we have found out based on the 2012 curriculum, based on the 2018 curriculum implementation and feedback, plus objective sources of feedback coming from national regulatory agencies, accreditation body, which is PASCU, plus our institutional exit survey for our graduating students, we have come up with this SWOT. So overall, these are our strengths. So the strengths of the BS Pharmacy program, OBE-based and ladderized, are the following: licensure examination performance, strong curriculum alignment, supportive environment reflective of the institution and at the same time the institute, and the innovative model, ladderized, OBE-based. Opportunities, we have aligning with international or global standards, expanding educational programs, like for example, do we need to have a separate diploma program to address the need for pharmacy support workforce so that we can actually expand the context of the program being ladderized, like offering a diploma in pharmacy technician, for example. Strengthening career advising, collaborating with stakeholders, and of course, the national roadmap, or taking part in the development of the action plans and even the implementation of these action plans towards the achievement of the goals of the national pharmacy roadmap. The weaknesses, of course, qualified. We need to have qualified faculty ratio. We need to address some research gaps. We need to strengthen our pharmaceutical sciences category of researches, apart from carrying out both practice and regulation-based researches. And then, of course, scheduling challenges, because evidently, our curriculum, as regarded by our students, it's considered to be very bulky, but we cannot do anything about it because we are following the CMO. So we are trying our very best really to make the schedule as flexible as possible and accommodating the demand for more time for our students to be able to finish all of the requirements given in the program. And of course, the explicit CQI, the need for an explicit CQI. Yes, we're doing continuous feedback, continuous quality improvement, but it has to be written, it has to be documented, and we have to reinforce that in the institute. For the challenges and threats, evolving standards, we do not know what comes next after CMO 25, given that the roadmap for pharmacy education and practice is already there. We are set to implement the roadmap. The very first action plan stated in the roadmap is for us to promote ladderized and OBE-based pharmacy education. And the time set as submitted to CHED is actually 2026. But next year is already 2026. So, awaiting what happens next, we have to make our program, we have to make our curriculum ready for these upcoming changes. And then, of course, common university challenges as a local university. You all know that when it comes to procurement, our problem with respect to, for example, the purchase of reagents, the purchase of chemicals, that's just an example, okay? And then staying ahead of policy and having adaptive systems. So this is the strategic plan for 2026-2030, where we're headed. So these are the goals: sustaining program excellence and performance. Number 2, advancing faculty competence and academic delivery. Enhance research, innovation, and community impact. Strengthen professionalism and student development. And reinforce quality assurance and global benchmarking. Aligning all of this with a national roadmap. We have also aligned this with our RISE. So RISE model, the goals align with the RISE core values of UMak and the Institute of Pharmacy. We also have impact, considerably, impact on SDG 4 and 3, contributing to global goals, particularly good health and well-being, and then quality education. Pharmacy education as a tool for equity and health. So call to action, these are the recommendations. So we have to continue the culture of quality assurance in the Institute, intensify alumni tracking mechanisms. We need to develop structured career pathways for our students, even to our alumni and other professionals in the pharmaceutical healthcare industry. And number 4, to submit this document for publication as a reference in the implementation of a ladderized BS Pharmacy program in the Philippine Pharmacy Roadmap. So in conclusion, the OBE ladderized pharmacy program has demonstrated effectiveness, relevance, and continuous quality improvement supported by internal and external feedback, regulatory benchmarks, and stakeholder perspectives. This innovative model aligns with the Philippine Pharmacy Roadmap 2030, which now proposes a national rollout of a ladderized pharmacy education curriculum. Acknowledgement goes to the Institute of Pharmacy and its stakeholders, officials, students, faculty, staff, alumni, industry partners, and professional organizations, the Center for Continuing and Advanced Professional Studies, the University of Makati, the City Government of Makati, formerly the PHEI, and the College of Allied Health Studies, and of course, my mentors in the pharmacy profession. So for the full report, you may scan it. So the details of everything that has been presented can be found on this file by accessing the QR code. My email and my number. So thank you very much.
Amazing, di ba? Congratulations, VP Net. Okay. So our next presenter earned his Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, Master of Information Technology, and Doctor of Technology degrees from the Technological University of the Philippines, Manila, where he also completed units in a PhD in Technology Management. With nearly 25 years of experience in academia, industry, and professional organizations, he has served as an educator, administrator, and software project consultant. He is a CHED RQuat accreditor for IT education and has held leadership roles such as Vice President and Secretary of CODITE NCR, and is an active researcher and reviewer, and has published papers in IEE and Scopus Index journals and serves on editorial boards of international journals. He also engages in community transformation and mission partnerships locally and abroad, holding a psychosocial counseling certificate in 2015 and pursuing a Master of Divinity in South Korea. Currently, he is taking a graduate diploma in Research and Development Management at the University of the Philippines Open University and is part of the ARISE Research Group, continuously sharing his expertise to advance education and community growth. Let's welcome the University of Makati Professional Chair 2024 and Dean of the College of Computing and Information Sciences to discuss the proposed policies and guidelines in the use of AI tools in academic instruction and research. Please help me welcome Dr. Joel B. Mangaba.
Thank you so much, Ms. Steph. And to everyone, good afternoon. Thank you for your presence. And this is the topic that I've been working actually since last year because this is what we're trying to do as part of the Council of Deans for IT Education, but we're not able to finish it as a group. So I had given a chance through this professorial chair to work on this project. The proposed policies and guidelines in the use of AI tools in academic instructions and research. So when I received the notice of acceptance for this award, so I started attending a lot of conferences, a lot of seminars related to AI, and even the Council of Deans for IT Education conducted a lot of seminars related to this. Next, please. So we know that AI in education, it has been a topic for many, many schools, and even at UMak, our community is asking why we don't have the policy yet, and how are we going to battle on the problems that we encounter in terms of the use of AI, the adverse effect of the use of AI. Because there is a growing use of AI tools, sometimes when we are asked about tools, we can simply say ChatGPT, but now there's a lot about AI tools and still growing because the technology, the emerging technology is so fast. That field is really is fast, and that transforms a lot of framework, and even there is like a paradigm shift for most of the framework. That transformative potential actually is directly affecting the educational landscape. Talking about that, the system, educational system, how we work with the curriculum, integration of AI in the curriculum, how we manage even working with the ethical issues and other social impact of AI. Even the students and faculty members have disparity in terms of this area. And because of that, we also encounter a lot of positive things from this technology. AI-powered learning platform, for example, that demonstrate 30% increase in mastery of learning objectives, highlighting the effectiveness of personalized learning interventions. So, especially for the self-paced learning and a lot of hybrid, a lot of mode of learning actually come up with personalized learning interventions. And it reduces the achievement gap between low-income and high-income students by up to 50%, promoting equity and inclusivity in education because the access is for everyone. Given this technology, mostly are free to use for everyone. Next, please. And we have to understand how it works because we are users. So we the technical people, how we understand how it works, it is basically a piece of program. We're talking about program. So everything is actually programmed. But this kind of program has the capacity to learn itself. But everything has to be trained first. So the more you feed to the large language model, the more it can process, the more it can adapt, the more it can learn. So those who are really into their devices, looking for something, and it creates patterns. From that patterns, it actually learns. Okay, and you might be surprised, like why this pops up. a lot of topics. So historically speaking, you have, if you are to check, it's because of your previous use. So this is there is like the idea of predictive analysis in this case, and it has also the capacity of uh, prescriptive analysis. It can give you like what you can do. You can really ask, what should I do? Because again, it learns from itself. So you can see from the structured data, you could have the input of the structured, meaning these are cleansed data. Probably even the unstructured data could also be processed as pre-trained for the LLM. So it cleanses itself for the data. So we have different types of data: the text, the voice, the 3D signals, and images. And I don't know if you are surprised, even by just talking, you are not actually using your devices. It listens to your to your voice. Sometimes you're just talking about a certain topic, then once you check your phone, it gives you information about that topic. That's how it is. Even your phone is, you're not using your Facebook account, for example, but there are a lot of downloaded applications that can actually listen to everything that we do. Okay, so with that, adoption happens. So I say it learns, and from a simple text, it can come up with information extraction, because we're talking here large language model talks about like really big data. It can even follow an instruction. It can recognize an object. So the use of image processing, for example, if there's an app that can identify if you are a human or not, or if it's a dog or not, or any type of plants, for example, we can even check the health of the plant. So we have that applications. So one of the projects of my doctorate students is to check when is the right time to harvest the fruit. So that actually adds to the profit of the farmers. You have that, of course, Q&A. You can simply ask questions, and it can even somehow there's like effective part of AI. You know, when I first tried ChatGPT, I was so polite, like, could you please help me? Please generate. So as if I really connected. I don't know if you are like that. Like, I really polite, but when I think about it, why should I? But it actually answers back politely also. So next, please. Now, we have a lot of opportunities. I mentioned about the transformative potential of AI to create more accessible, engaging, effective learning experiences for all students. Students, do you enjoy AI? Yes, I know you're enjoying it. Because it supports your needs, right? It supports your needs. A lot of works given to you. I just started actually using ChatGPT last year, August, because I was trying, trying hard to not do, okay, or use ChatGPT. But because we are engaging with our students, we are engaging with collaborations, and we are engaging to, social norms, or, what is going on there. So I really had to. Now, the language translation, one of my students is actually a Chinese. So I was thinking like, he is really good in English. But when we met actually face to face. He doesn't know even one English because of AI. And of course, real-time feedback and adaptive learning system is there. But the challenges is really something that we need to consider as well because, it can actually affect the future of our graduates. The algorithmic biases, I said it is programmed. That's why other countries make their own large language models. So they feed it with their own data set so that it is somehow within the context of their country. It serves their country. So in our case, we don't have that yet. Some big universities try to do it with their database. So it is possible. The over-reliance, always check ChatGPT, always go to Gemini. Just last night, I tried to make an account because I always use the one that is it doesn't necessarily that you have your account. I was trying to generate the visualization of my output, the thematic codes, but actually limited without the account, so I had to do that. So there, plagiarism is really high, and data privacy is also a concern. Having a policy in an institution, having a clear policy and strict policy actually can discipline the students. I believe with that because I experienced that. Every time I send my assignment to UPOU, it has the capacity to check right away if it has AI content or the Turnitin is embedded there, so it actually checks back and give feedback actually right away. So if the professor sees that it has high content, AI content, it's not just saying that you need to resubmit. No, it's different there. I think that is something that gives us it's still scary. Still scary. Okay? With this technology, having a good policy, still scary. The long-term cognitive effects of AI independence is a problem. When we had discussion collaboration with big companies actually, you know what they are looking at for from our graduates? They are asking if we can go back with the hard knocks because our graduates now are not resilient. They can easily say, okay, I resign, go there, okay? And they cannot actually process, high-level thinking. So that happens because of AI independence, the de-skilling of educators. Okay, even educators. Okay, the devaluation of formative struggle, the automation of pedagogical authority. So even that one. Because we cannot see now the relationship of technology and pedagogy. The psychological effects of machine feedback and the systematic inequities introduced by personalization algorithms. I was not able to come up with what I was expecting that the application can provide. So I was like, okay, I really had to do it manually. Actually, you people, mostly the users are better than the programmers because creativity is another thing. VP Ed, I admire VP Ed. He is so creative in using AI. Din Bayona is not here, but I know she's always talking about AI. I'm not that good in using AI, but I understand the technology behind it. Okay, next, please. So because of that, there are issues surrounding data governance, AI facilitated academic dishonesty, and silent rewriting of research content by algorithmic logic. Take note that it is algorithmic. Okay, there is an algorithm integrated to that to do your to do a task, and the regulatory vacuum around automated decision making. So these are the problems. The ethical consideration, for example, like what will you do with the students who actually commit totally generated by AI? Then what will you do with the faculty who is actually also doing that? And there is this digital literary disparity. Like, we are imposing something to our students without clear policy. That is another problem. We cannot do that. Okay? Your students are so good in using AI, and you have the problem of even checking if it's an AI generated or not. Right? So students, you are really good. Sometimes you are really better in using this. And of course, they are actually, or some companies are actually checking on the graduates that have at least AI skills or how to use AI as part of their curriculum. So that's another thing. And how we change our teaching methods because of AI. Next, please. So when I asked the CHED, do you have any policy or are you working on the policy about this one? So they said, oh, we don't have that one. But probably we could check on what the past PACU. So that is PACU. The Philippine, okay. The Philippine Association of Colleges and Universities. Just last year, on March 4, 2024, they come up with a draft. They work on this, like hundred of schools participated, 200 attended, from presidents, vice presidents, even other offices, registrars, deans, directors. So not only from the teaching personnel. And they said that you could use this framework. You could, and even Chad said that, oh, we could use that, our framework. So this one actually, Harnessing AI Potential, a handbook on acceptable use in education 2024. You can download this one and check how it can help you to provide a holistic framework for the integration and management of AI in educational settings, encompassing ethical compliance, at least there is there, how we can manage the ethical part, the educational enhancement. So it talks about the curriculum, changing curriculum, the workload, efficiencies, how we can augment some of the tasks from different offices through AI, and how we can work with administrative requirements to make it happen in a university or an institution. The data security also part of that, because that's part of legal. There's legal matter related to that, and innovation, whilst ensuring the safeguarding and protection of our stakeholders. Next, please. So these are the aims actually of that framework So you can check the established clear guidelines, expectations of responsible, ethical, and lawful use of AI technologies within the organization or institution, promote transparency, accountability, there's safeguarding, even the culture of digital literacy. So it has to be a culture in a university right now. We cannot actually say no to that. And critical thinking is also part of the target ethical decision making among users. There is this like anticipate and mitigate risks and vulnerabilities associated with AI-driven processes. Later, you'll see that there are a lot of harms that AI can do to us and facilitate collaboration, knowledge sharing, and interdisciplinary dialogue among stakeholders. Aside from that, enhance public trust, because that is really important. Like, if we are talking about UMak, so how UMak handles this ethical concerns related to AI? Is there a policy about that? Okay, next please. If you are to check the whole thing of that framework, they have actually this areas, intentions, and the guiding principles, of course, the ethical use of AI, the curriculum integration, how properly and integrate the curriculum into curriculum, the AI thing. So I mentioned about administrative support, wherein I really check on the different offices that we have, and part of the policy actually is how these different offices are supposed to be part of this. Like, we're talking about data management, for example, from data collection to storage and how we can do after that. So there should be an office who can work with that. And we're talking about data privacy. We're talking about intellectual property. So we have office related to that, or who are responsible for that. And they are part of they have roles and responsibilities in the implementation of the policy. And workload reduction, VP Ivan, actually, we're working on how we can use what we already have, using AI through, of course, data analytics, using from descriptive to diagnostic to predictive and prescriptive. How we can use that so that we can easily get or generate information or generate report out of what we already have by integrating the AI. We have the TBL Hub, for example. How we can integrate AI in our TBL Hub so that whenever the students submit or the teacher checks, there is this capacity to do the thing that lessens the work of our faculty. Compliance with the laws and regulations and definition of prohibitive and acceptable behavior, and safeguarding and data management. Okay, next, please. Now, using NVivo with the help of CR, of course, I was able to come up with these themes from 33 actually research outputs from reputable research journals. Responsible use of AI in education. So the main theme, actually there were 10 identified main theme out of the result of this thematic analysis. Again, I use NVivo to assist me on that, because it's to me so many. We can simply run this PDF file. Actually, I didn't know how, so that's why CRA was there to help me. Thank you. So academic integrity and ethics. There, we're talking about plagiarism prevention, transparency in AI-assisted writing, ethical decision-making, and fair assessment. This is really something. how we can really give fair assessment if they use technology. So it is also the technology that can solve that kind of problem. Okay? And the interpretation application focus on honesty, originality, and moral responsibility in AI-supported learning and evaluation. We are actually also imposing here honesty. This is soft skills, actually. AI literacy and capacity building, the training for the faculty, awareness, skill development. This actually prepares students and educators to critically understand, evaluate, and use AI responsibly. Okay? Data privacy, you have the consent and protection. You cannot simply use data. There's the policy compliance, the algorithmic transparency. Okay? Address the ethical collection and use and management of education and data, student data, the pedagogical innovation and teaching design I mentioned about, how we can then marry technology and pedagogy. So this is also gives us the idea of adaptive learning, the personalized education, curriculum integration and project-based learning, human-centered learning and inclusivity. Talking about equity, it's not only about equality, but equity and access, regardless of the status of our students or even our faculty members. The diversity of learners, the emotional intelligence, the autonomy and empathy. So you have there the interpretation. Move to the next, please. And the next 5, governance policy and regulations were extracted. Talking about the institutional frameworks, national and international standards, implementation guidelines, and legal compliance. There we try to establish structured accountability for responsible AI integration across educational levels. Then the responsible AI design and deployment, so it's like bias mitigation, accountability in systems, and sustainability. Talking about systems, if we are to integrate any software for AI or related to AI, how do we assess our application? So that's part of that. That's part of it. So it's not just simply using whatever is available. Especially if we have like using the internet, open internet, so there might be a problem with that. Collaboration and multi-stakeholder engagement, educator, developer partnerships, cross-disciplinary project, public and private collaboration, and actually, this is really important, the societal and cultural impact. Global perspectives, cultural sensitivity, social justice, and digital divides. Next, please. So, from another set of research using NVivo again, and from there come up with this for research. So in research, I was able to also come up with 10 here. The research integrity and ethics, talking about, of course, plagiarism prevention, authorship, transparency is also important. Like, can you really be the main author if should be not? Like, there are schools, faculty members usually get the main authorship, but that shouldn't be the case at all times. So responsible assisted writing. Of course, if it's assisted, what will you do with that? Data privacy and security, data protection, consent, confidentiality, secure data storage is also a concern. BP Jewel actually asking if we can digitize our output there. So if that will happen, and somehow we are transforming other hard copy to digital copy. So how can we work with that? Accountability and transparency. What AI model is used? Disclosure of AI should be there. So traceability of data sources. I'm talking here like there should be a mechanism that we can actually disclose that you use AI. Okay? So bias, fairness, and inclusivity algorithms fairness, diversity in data set, inclusive model design. Because again, if there is a bias in the output, it affects you really. Like why I am, like there is like allocative charm, allocative harm. Like why I'm not included. Okay, why I'm not included. So governance and compliance is also part of that because of the ethical review boards, institutional policies, national and global standards. Next, please. Responsible innovation, resource literacy, capacity building, collaboration, interdisciplinary research, evaluation, impact assessment, policy and future directions. Next, please. Now, I came up with survey and actually interview with schools, NCR, and I did it manually because this is like 18 schools. So instead of en vivo, so I think I said I could do that manually. So from there, I was able to come up with this theme and subcodes, ethical use of AI, so academic honesty and anti-plagiarism, transparency in AI-assisted work, equity and non-bias in AI tools, principles of AI. So of course, appropriate human-AI collaboration, curriculum integration is still part of that. Take note, these are the actual answer of administrative positions from these 18 schools. So administrative support is still there, and work reduction, compliance with laws and regulations, safeguarding, data management. Next, please. Okay, so actually, these are links of the policies I crafted out of this. So there are like, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 voluminous policies actually, because it's purely text, so I cannot present. So maybe we could just, because I have 5 minutes, right? Let's check with the this potential harm and suggested actions to mitigate. Without you knowing, without you knowing, there are harms in using AI. Number one is allocative harm. Wrongdoing that occurs when an AI system's use or behavior withholds opportunities, resources, or information in domains that affect a person's well-being. When you request using AI platform, you were like experience that you're not able to access information because of many reasons or for some reasons. So there are suggested actions to mitigate potential harm, evaluate all AI-generated content before incorporate it into work or share it with anyone. What I'm saying here is, for example, we use AI then as basis for coming up policy, but this AI-generated policy can actually harm. Okay? So quality of service harm, another thing, circumstances in which AI tools do not perform as well for certain groups of people based on their identity. Another thing, representational harm. An AI tool's reinforcement for the subordination of social groups based on their identities. Cultural problems, for example. And social system harm, macro-level societal effects that amplify existing class, power, or privilege disparities, or cause physical harm as a result of the development or use of AI tools. Take note. These are possible harms, and with this possible mitigation, It can help us, actually, the community. Next, please. Whatever. There. Okay. I even provided here different possible available generative AI for different purpose in a workplace, like conversational AI tools. So these are the list. The productivity and writing assistants. These are the list. Next, please. You have the, okay, more. You have the code generative AI tools, the image and media generative AI tools. Okay, so, and what else? Okay, roles and responsibilities. This one is really important. Give me a minute on this. For example, Center for Research and Development. So what we are expecting from them, of course, they do this. And they do continuous review and revision. Actually, they are the ones who have the existing policies in research. We have the DTO, Data Transformation Advisory Council, and these are the expected, actually, roles of this office. So you can check on that. The TBL Hub include AI literacy, provide access to training models, integrate software for AI content detection, integrate software to routine, the ITSO, so we have for data security, data privacy and everything related to that, technology-based incubation, encouragement to cooperate between interest groups, the CIT, colleges, the CQMD, and the administration, and more. So thank you so much. I have my time finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Joel. Loaded, no? Okay. So we're down to the last presenter. So Dr. Maria Carmen V. Peñalosa is a distinguished academic and researcher who earned her Bachelor of Arts in Public Administration, Master's in Demography, and Doctor of Public Administration from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. Her scholarly works include a master's thesis on fertility and women's labor participation and a doctoral dissertation titled Hanap Buhay, the Filipino Bureaucrat's Quest for Ginhawa in the Workplace and Its Implications for Bureaucratic Corruption. She currently serves as the Executive Director of the Center for Strategic Research, Creativity and Intellectual Property and a professor at Miriam College's School of Arts, Sciences, and Education. Dr. Peñalosa also teaches at NCPAG and here at the University of Makati, focusing on organization studies, leadership, human resource management, and the Philippine administrative system. Her areas of specialization include organizational culture, education reform, indigenization of Philippine social sciences, and multidisciplinary research grounded in Philippine society and culture. Friends, please help me welcome Dr. Maria Carmen V. Peñalosa.
Good afternoon, everyone, to our administrators, and of course, faculty, colleague, students, no, ladies and gentlemen. So I'd like to share with you the results of this study, measuring local government employees' pursuit of ginhawa in a first-class, highly urbanized city in Metro Manila. So it's twofold. One is to test an instrument that exists already and to contextualize it in the context of local government service. Saan ba dapat? Yun. The clicker is not working? Ayun. Okay. So I'm sorry for the text, but in any case, so it's the study in itself revisited and contextualized what I call the ginhawa motivation instrument. And it points to ginhawa as a fundamental Filipino concept of well-being, character, motivation, life aspirations that government, well, Filipinos in general, government officials more specifically pursue, no, when they work for government. So it builds on a previous research. The output of is the instrument. And but this time, so initially it was tested in a constitutional commission, but this time we tested it in a local government unit, an agency attached to a local government unit. So it's a first-class, highly urbanized city in Metro Manila. It's anchored on pantayong pananaw and psikolohiyang Pilipino. And yeah, these are Filipino perspectives and approaches in the social sciences, which unfortunately we do not have many researchers applying these concepts in research, which means primarily to anchor your research on the fundamental use of language and culture, so Filipino, in the design of the research, in the development of selection, development of your methodologies and techniques, and in the interpretation and reporting of what you find, in terms of phenomena. And in this case, we're looking at what's happening inside an office or within the context of public service. So overall, the study sought to validate the instrument, to explore the association of ginhawa with the concept of hanap buhay. So later, I'll just do a quick walkthrough of these two concepts. Hanap buhay, which is a broad concept, and has two subcategories. Yung ginagawang hanap buhay ang trabaho, which we, in English, is making a livelihood out of one's work. The Filipino metaphor for corruption. And the second one is pursuing livelihood activities at work. So, naghahanap buhay sa trabaho. Okay, so essentially, I went through the statement of the problem. So, ginhawa, this is the theoretical framework. It's a fundamental Filipino motivation and overall aspiration in life. It's so indigenous to the Filipino that it is Austronesian, and you can find it all throughout the realm, the Austronesian realm, they call it. In the Philippines, it's all over from Luzon down to Mindanao and Sulu. It takes on different cognates and reflexes, but in linguistics, we know that they mean the same thing. Okay. Essentially, at the core of ginhawa is the meaning of life itself, to maintain life. So yung question na para kanino ka bumabangon? Para sa pamilya? Pero bakit? Di ba? Ginhawa para sa sarili, ginhawa para sa pamilya. So at the core of even that, bakit ka bumabangon, is the concept of ginhawa. Yeah, it refers to the entirety of the nature and workings of our emotions, the external senses of Filipinos as human beings, their perception of whatever occurs internal and external to their humanity. All of these have profound connection to ginhawa. In fact, ginhawa is the basis for the natural order of the emotions and external senses of human beings. So, defined in the negative, if you don't have ginhawa, either you're dead, you're sick, you're in pain, you're suffering, things like that. So just to show you, if you step back and look at ginhawa, how the different meanings all over the Philippines, come together in a kind of diagram. So I call it pan-Filipino because it covers the entire Philippines. Looking at ginhawa in the different meanings that it carries, you'll find that it has essentially three meanings, or three dimensions. I called it dimensions. So one is ginhawa refers to the respiratory alimentary condition of the person. So this has to do with breathing, the physical health. Yes. So mainly in the Visayas, that's how they understand ginhawa, yeah, relates to the overall physiological conditions, nutritional functioning of the body. In fact, this is the oldest. This is the Austronesian remnant, the oldest meaning that it carries. And then it refers to the psychological, emotional condition of the body, the vitality of the human body that is driven by our psychology, driven by our philosophy in life, by our spirituality. So then you have this dimension, the vital spiritual, or in a way, a figurative meaning that relates to a person's understanding or existence of his or her pagkatao in dynamic interaction with the natural and supernatural realm. The third, we're all familiar with this, is the nature, quality, extent of relations that we have with people, the relational, communal dimension of ginhawa, what we get out of our relationships. So that comes in the form of pakikipagkapwa-tao, where, community and self is sustained in terms of hanap buhay. No? In hanap buhay, we do interact with a lot of people, and we are able to sustain many of the different dimensions, no, of ginhawa in itself. So it can be construed as self and our pagkatao interacting with the external world made up of kapwa and iba. And then the fourth one is that ginhawa is understood to be developmental, contextual, no, situational. It changes, no, depending on where we are at any given moment in space and in time. So the theoretical framework goes on to suggest that one way to attain ginhawa is through hanap buhay, in a very broad sense. So hanap buhay in a very broad sense can be pursued. For precisely the four reasons. We go and look for ginhawa through hanap buhay, and this comes in the form of maintaining life. We need to maintain our life. Life in some ethnic groups is ginhawa itself. In some ethnic groups, particularly in the north, ginhawa refers to food. So we also, seek food as we work, no, for sustenance, for self, family, and community. But since we are now in a money economy, we've transcended those days of sinaunang pamayanan. All of these things are possible now through income, no? So we need income, salary, or gain, in as much as money has become a critical resource in acquiring food, the two, no, and sustaining life. And this one, the vital spiritual aspect of ginhawa, no? We pursue hanap buhay because we aspire for a life of ease, a life of happiness, no, or a good life. And essentially, for Filipinos, it's not just for us, but it's for our family, no? And it extends, the concept of family goes beyond the nuclear, sometimes even beyond the extended, into the community. So hanap buhay means search for life, or search for a livelihood, which is essential to remaining life. And technically, working for government is a livelihood, technically, right? To the extent that it gives us money to sustain our lives. But then, in the course of the research, hanap buhay appears to have two meanings. So you have one broad and then two subcategories. In parlance, in common use, hanap buhay, okay, so this one I said already. Let me go to the, okay, this one. In language use, you probably will not call these as trabaho, no? These are hanap buhay. And these are oftentimes referred to as trabaho. Okay? Distinctly. Ito minsan ginagawang hanap buhay ang trabaho. Okay. I will explain that. So, hanap buhay has actually two subcategories. In common use, language use, sometimes hanap buhay precisely refers to an assertion of an old Filipino behavior. Okay, it's a work ethic very close to our ancestors, where the primary driver or motivation is not so much what we do, but what we do gives us, yes. So the emphasis is the ginhawa that we are able to procure from the task or from the work, no? So that's the driving force. Everything else is not important. It may be non-regimented. It doesn't matter how often you do it or how less. There are no organizational maxims. It exalts personal freedom and many other things. Trabaho is the complete opposite. This is what we understand as modern organizational work, where the maxims of organizational performance is imposed on us: efficiency, effectiveness, institutional design, etc. So, when an employee or a Filipino goes into government service, no, essentially in that broad sense, looking for a life of ease, happiness, we are confronted with two subcategories, no? Hanap buhay and trabaho. The demand for ginhawa, no, and the demands of our work. And we know that oftentimes our work does not give us ginhawa. It takes away ginhawa. Government service has been known to be a sacrifice, diba? Especially for teachers. It's a huge sacrifice. To justify that, they call it a mission. No? And so, if you do not get ginhawa from your work, and ginhawa is the driving force, no, of life and for the maintenance of life, so how do you now reconcile the two? It seems that in the public sector workplace, it's reconciled by two practices. One is paghahanap buhay sa trabaho. The second is ginagawang hanap buhay ang trabaho. So this is an example of paghahanap buhay sa trabaho. If it happens within the context of government service, then that's a good example, no, for the research. Racket, sideline, negosyo, dagdag hanap buhay. And this is ginagawang hanap buhay ang trabaho. You know, when you turn one's work into a livelihood. Magalong, Mayor Magalong said, referring to flood control, they have turned it into a livelihood. Okay, so you have here a government employee searching for ginhawa, coming into the workplace, confronted by the dichotomy, and resulting in specific behaviors. And this is what we will be looking at. So I don't intend to go into the details because I'm very excited to share with you the findings. So siguro quick lang, it's mixed methods, embedded design, concurrent, exploratory, okay, survey. Population and sampling here, we intended census, but we were not able to get all. Unfortunately, we were only able to get 60 respondents. So we will not be able to generalize for all the employees within the institution, but only for the 60, okay, coming from the different offices. So here is the instrument. It's threefold. There are items on ginhawa and items on the hanap buhay scales. So ito yun. You have 1 to 4, the dimensions of ginhawa, and then you have 2, the subscales of hanap buhay. There are items. No? One, trying to understand the situation of our employees. The other one is to look at their perception, acceptability or tolerance of these two practices. Okay, so I'll just skip all of these so I can go directly to the findings. Yeah. By the way, it's a survey, so it's subject to the usual concerns, constraints, limitations of a survey, and especially because we were not able to meet the minimum of 200 respondents, we were not able to apply. This was the confirmatory factor analysis, no, through SEM, which would have allowed us to really assess the validity of and reliability of the instrument. Okay, so we settled for a less robust statistical method. Okay, results and discussion. So you have here essentially low to middle, no, employees in the office who are mostly female, majority of whom are were single. Many hold at least a bachelor's degree, predominantly Catholic. Median years of government service is 6, with 9.4, so medyo scattered. It means you have hugely young, no, or recently employees have just recently joined the workforce, 1 to 4 years, but you also have a number who have been in the workforce for quite a number of time, 20 to 29 years. Median age was 32, the majority of whom belong to 25 to 29, 30 to 34. So the findings are consistent. That should explain why majority were single. That would explain why, in terms perhaps of their educational background, bachelor's degree, and why the positions are at that level. So consistent, no? Salary grades 3 to 22, median of 11. So median take home. So the data are also consistent. If you look at the self-assessed economic income, 80% of them said tama lang. Okay, so nobody identified as rich. Most have savings, but they believe that it is not sufficient. Okay, median of 3 dependents. So you can imagine, these are the salary levels, salary grade, they say tama lang, but when you look at the median age of dependents, many support 3 to 4. And in fact, there are some who support 5 to 6, aside from themselves. So you can imagine, no? And yet they said tama lang. So it's not really monetary, no? Monetary. Ginhawa is not really monetary. Or at least when you assess how well you're doing, you don't really look to money only. Okay? Okay, more than half, or 58.33, have invested money on tangible assets, but they still consider it also not enough. All right, so to the first objective, to test the instrument, and we said we were not able to apply the statistical test we wanted, no? Kasi nga, we didn't get the numbers, at least 200, we got 60. So we were able to apply a statistical test, which is appropriate for the number. It's called Cronbach's alpha test for reliability. And the findings is the questions, the items, on the ginhawa side shows excellent internal consistency. So it is reliable. Except that since the score is very high, there may be potential semantic overlaps. This means there may be items measuring the same thing that could be dropped. No? But since we were not able to apply SEMPLS, we cannot say exactly which items should be dropped. Okay? So that's one. And then applying it now to the 60, this is what we found. The employees, the respondents, generally have high levels of perceived ginhawa. Remember, it's self-reporting, it's how they feel. Okay, they reported satisfaction, faith, and fulfillment across all of the dimensions. There exists moderate consensus among them about their experiences. So there are some who say, sumasang-ayon, and quite a number who say lubos na sumasang-ayon. So they're not exactly in agreement, but in general, the consensus is moderate. At the upper of the ginhawa scale, no, are these items. And the scores, being the highest, show that among the 60, they reported very strong affirmation of vital spiritual ginhawa. So the respondents generally associate ginhawa with faith, pananampalataya, pag-asa, disiplina sa trabaho, mabuting gawain. No? Spirituality with resilience, therefore remain very foundational, no, to Filipinos' pursuit of ginhawa, even in government, or probably most especially in government offices. Now, if we look at the mid-range, this is the highest. No? Apparently, this is where we get the most, sense of fulfillment of ginhawa, spirituality. Second would be health, so mid-range score, and then our relationships with people within the office and in life in general, outside of the office. And then, of course, there are other items as well. Certain items that refer to contentment, satisfaction, despite many imperfections in life, personal sacrifices, monetary constraints, which were reported, and then reflective philosophical, meaning to say that they understand that, they may not be maginhawa ngayon, but it can change, and moral, spiritual as well. So mid-range pa rin. You will notice here, this is below 3.60. These are the least sources of ginhawa, and they're all material. So the 60 reported, that it's not all about material sufficiency. In fact, material sufficiency, in this case, among the 60, remains the weakest source of ginhawa. However, if you look at their overall assessment of life, mid-range, no? So tama lang. Life, maganda, self-sufficient, sufficient to address the needs of the family. So assessed as mid-ranged. We also looked at how many of the 60 were actually working in terms of paghahanap buhay sa trabaho. No? So may dagdag income, racket, sideline, side job. And actually, it's 47. No? That's a big number. Okay? 47 meron. Okay? 53 wala. Okay. Where do these 47 do sideline, get income augmentation? You will notice that 36%, 36% from government offices also. Okay? 3 from a different government office, or office different from theirs, 24 within the same grounds of their own office, 9 within their own offices. Okay? And I wonder this one, no, because we were not really able to break this down. Wala sa lugar na nabanggit, 41. Okay, now the 53 who do not have dagdag hanap buhay were asked, dahilan kung bakit hindi naghahanap buhay sa trabaho. Okay? Bakit kayo hindi naghahanap buhay sa trabaho? There were 7 thematic patterns that came out. Number 1, time and workload constraints. So it seems that there are reported overwork and fatigue. No? So baka HR may want to look into this. The employees reported some kind of this is a dominant response. No? They perceive that their government work is already time consuming. Okay? And physical health, they need to prioritize sleep, self-care, health. And then others interpret it as requiring puhunan, so resource and financial limitations, and they don't have that, so they don't have dagdag hanap buhay, or they're not naghahanap buhay sa trabaho. The other 4, competing personal commitments. They need to take care of members of the family, they're pursuing graduate studies, and then of course self-care. No opportunity, okay? Limited opportunities for additional work within the constraints of government. But remember, no one said bawal. Walang nagsabing bawal. No? There are constraints. Okay? It's my personal choice. No? We're contented already with not having additional work. It's a personal decision. And then some are saying it's because nagsisimula pa lang kami sa trabaho. So you can imagine, maybe if they've settled in, baka they will be able to entertain the idea. Okay. Now, the 47 who engage in this, no? Those who are naghahanap buhay sa trabaho, 37% of whom within their own government offices or vicinity, said that they are doing this because they have insufficient income, low salary, rising cost of living expense, and the need for extra income. Okay? And, because they have family obligations and there are financial responsibilities. They have dependents. Di ba 5 to 6 nga yung iba, right? They need to contribute to daily household bills and expenses. Many of the respondents reported being breadwinners. Okay? And they're still young, generally young, and yet breadwinners. Financial security, and this is very, very interesting. Future-proofing. They're looking at sustainability. They want to secure their future. So they're saving money for their retirement this early at a very generally young age. They're looking to building their emergency funds. So hanap buhay, naghahanap buhay sa trabaho, dagdag hanap buhay is viewed as necessary for economic self-protection, motivation, and preventive coping. Dahilan kung bakit naghahanap buhay sa trabaho. The last 4, professional growth. And this is very positive, no? Continuing professional development. These are those who are teaching, doing consultancy, they're sharing their knowledge, they're building their skills, professional-driven engagements. Some are doing it because the opportunity is there, sayang ang pagkakataon. So they're flexible, self-driven side jobs, adaptive resilience, or pragmatism. Andyan yung opportunity, sayang. Okay. Purpose and personal fulfillment. So they're doing it because it makes them happy. So in line of performing arts, so music, meaningful engagements, for example, teaching also. And lastly, last of the 7 major themes, economic sustainability and moral responsibility. This is very, very interesting because some of the respondents believe, many believe, that sideline is a moral responsibility towards family, especially when income is not sufficient. Okay? So it allows them a certain dignity. Okay, yeah, to maintain stable living conditions for the family. In terms of the types of hanap buhay sa trabaho, it appears that there are 5 income categories. One is entrepreneurial, are entrepreneurial ventures and commerce. So by selling goods, services, providing services, and operating small enterprise. Another is professional and knowledge-based. This is where the expertise, no, is provided, it's extended as supplemental work for additional income. Artistic, lumabas din to, creative, cultural, and artistic engagements. So we have some faculty who are, no, not faculty, some respondents who are artistic, cultural, who engage in artistic or cultural activities for income and self-expression. Some are engaged in service and gig economy work. Okay, so temporary, flexible, although online, yeah, on-call driver, runner, no, etc. And then lastly, financial and asset-based income. So those who have passive income, those who are renting out places, those who have business or stock investments. Okay, so 5 income categories. Now, the next component of the study was to look at the hanap buhay scales. Ginagawang hanap buhay ang trabaho, naghahanap buhay sa trabaho. And to see if the items in these scales are reliable also, no? And I don't know if I have time, please tell me. Sorry. Okay. So, yeah, okay, I think it's here. So there is also excellent internal consistency. So unlike the ginhawa items, there's no need to improve on the scale. Okay, the scores indicate that the items within each subscale consistently measure a single underlying construct, and that removing any would not meaningfully improve the scale. So it's perfect as it is. It is stable. Both scales, hanap buhay sa trabaho and ginagawang hanap buhay sa trabaho, are stable and internally coherent or conceptually stable. So what did we find in terms of perception, acceptability, and tolerance of the 60? Okay, remember, we cannot generalize. I'm also only looking at the 60, and maybe whatever resonates with the rest is up to us to decide, no? But then the second is no longer evidence-based. Okay, so most respondents perceive the 2 practices as justified. The 2 as acceptable, understandable, and even non-disruptive of work. However, there is high variance showing that they're not all completely in agreement. Some fully agreeing, others even rejecting, but the central tendency scores generally indicate mild to moderate disagreement. So if there's mild to moderate disagreement, you can imagine the scale tipping towards it's okay. It is notable that the mean values are lower for both hanap buhay scales when compared to ginhawa. So what does this mean? Respondents exhibit pragmatic tolerance towards both practices, especially when driven by economic necessity. And we'll look at the responses. Okay, here. Ang dahilan ay kahirapan. Well, poverty is a factor. It is not the main driver, okay, of paghahanap buhay sa trabaho, but it is a motivator. Okay, and then many believe mid-range hindi maiiwasan. And even suggest that additional income is really pursued for daily survival rather than luxury. So the first theme is actually perceptions on the acceptability and tolerance for paghahanap buhay sa trabaho because it is an economic necessity. Second is it is ethically legitimate and work compliant. No? Respondents generally believe that it is manageable. It does not affect their work performance, no? Even if they earn extra. This appears to be so the responses appear to be a modest assertion of the separation between the 2. Basta nagagampanan ng trabaho, okay lang na maghanap buhay sa trabaho. So there's a separation. Respondents see the arrangement as manageable. So overall perception, the practice does not conflict or contravene with civil service rules. Okay, the lowest mean score is hindi nakakaapekto sa kalidad ng trabaho. So somehow, there appears to be doubt, no? That many agree with the statement, however, probably doubt whether quality of work remains unaffected. Notable is the 67% who agreed to the statement, with 52% of them strongly agreeing and 6 divided. Okay, so just to provide some kind of analysis, respondents appear to want to see themselves as ethical and work compliant, but their scores show ambivalence, and that they may not be fully convinced that sideline work has no professional cost, or that it might be okay since the practice is both openly engaged in by everyone, pervasive throughout the government, local and national. So these items hint at a possible internal moral negotiation where they seek to justify, no, what they're doing. So an effort to reconcile extra livelihood activities with professional duty and work conduct, employing that they do believe that it's manageable, ethically acceptable, so as long as core job performance is not affected. Okay, another theme, I think this is the third one. It is acceptable, you can tolerate it and accept it because it is socially integrated within workplace norms. The general perception that there is no coercion, courtesy is maintained, it is open, no? So there's no secrecy there. It indicates social or emotional value in the practice. It's even framed as altruism, no? Where everybody benefits from what is sold, for example, no? Or the service that is provided. What are the implications? The results seem to suggest that it is socially acceptable, courteous, and beneficial. That is how they perceive it. So they say it's okay. But there is a fourth theme. There appears to be a moral framing of paghahanap buhay sa trabaho. On one hand, the economic necessity, survival, sustainability logic is there. But on the other hand, they say that there is ethical self-regulation. So hindi naman sila namimilit, hindi namumersa. And faith-based conscience, restraining excess. So para sa tama lang, yung pangangailangan, hindi naman luho. No? And at the base of all of these appears to be a fourth theme, the moral economy, or the belief that not only is this acceptable, not only is this integrated in the workplace, but nagbibigay ng ginhawa sa iba para makraos. So there's a moral economy where employees justify extra work as a means to uphold their dignity. Malinis ang konsensya, hindi garapalan, hindi patago, or pabulong. And that they're able to fulfill their duties and responsibility sa office and to their families as well. So, however, we should note that the scores are mid-range, low to mid-range. This means cautious acceptance. Employees seem to be justifying the practice as necessary, but are not 100% convinced that it is okay. Okay, so the 4 reasons why there is a general perception of acceptability and tolerance for paghahanap buhay sa trabaho. It's an economic necessity, it is ethically legitimate and work compliant, it is socially integrated within workplace norms, and it provides for a moral economy that supports employees' dignity. Now, this one is the one that is often equated with katiwalian, no? Corruption. Ginagawang hanap buhay ang trabaho. There is a great ambivalence among the 60. General tendency towards neutrality, okay? So suggesting possible guarded or morally critical stance towards practices described as ginagawang hanap buhay. But let's look at the insights in the responses. So 4 insights. 1, perception on the acceptability and tolerance for ginagawang hanap buhay ang trabaho, anchored on ethical awareness and rationalization. So, slight disagreement on whether minimal value solicitation or the intention behind gifts from the public justify receiving gifts. Okay, so may disagreement. General ambivalence, mixed opinion towards accepting gifts or appreciation of gratitude from the public, implying the same struggle between professional ethics and social expectations of reciprocity. Okay. Yeah. So there appears to be some kind of rationalization. Okay, but when it comes to non-transparency, it's very clear. They're skeptical. If it's non-transparent, it's probably not okay. Okay, ginagawang hanap buhay ang trabaho. Perceptions on acceptability and tolerance. So this one has to do with transparency, no? We've probably, seen this in the recent scandals, flood control. The moment it became so blatantly, grossly, exposed, then you see people, becoming very angry. And then mixed feelings on economic necessity. I'll just skip this because the card was flashed. I'll just go to the end. Okay, ginagawang hanap buhay ang trabaho is also framed by the persistence of moral, and this is one I mentioned to some friends that this is one that really troubles me, because it seems that the employees are morally aware that it is not okay, and yet they're able to ethically disengage. Anyway, malinis ang konsensya ko, hindi naman ako ang sangkot, mababawasan ng abala sa publiko, may araw din sila, makakarma rin yan, things like that. So, yeah. Okay, so 4 themes, 4 insights that came out why ginagawang hanap buhay ang trabaho can sometimes prosper. Remember, these are just perceptions of the 60. Because, there is ethical awareness. It's being justified, but when it's non-transparent, there is very high skepticism. They don't really believe that people are doing that because there is need, no? Suggesting that probably it's greed. The persistence of moral reflexivity and disengagement, and this is the one that I'm really concerned over. Okay, ginhawa is only weakly related to the 2 constructs, meaning it doesn't matter if you're high in ginhawa in all of the dimensions. It will not affect your perception of ginagawang hanap buhay ng trabaho and paghahanap buhay sa trabaho. However, if you think that paghahanap buhay sa trabaho is socially acceptable and tolerable, the data shows that you will also tend to regard ginagawang hanap buhay sa trabaho as permissive. Okay? But in a conscientious or maybe ambivalent way. May duda pa rin dun. Okay? But they are inclined. So what do these tell me, no? My interpretation. It seems that there is an idea of resilient and adaptive ethical consciousness where one's overall pursuit of ginhawa as fundamental life motivation, aspiration for self or family, can be compartmentalized from one's views, attitudes, and actual behavior. So, the dissonance, no? And probably because, not only because of situational realities, but because of the impact of our social spaces. Yung kapwa, yung mga tao sa paligid natin, no? Mga kakilala, kaibigan, no? And this social space is generally operative within what I call a culture of complaisance. And what does that mean? Maunawain, mapagbigay, maawain, mapagparaya. And I think this is really fundamentally at the heart of many of our problems. These are problems too, but I think all of these 2 are able to prosper because of this. Because people keep quiet, diba? Because people try to understand, because people give way, no, etc. So this is at the core of the problem. Okay. Nawala. Sorry. Conclusion na ako, promise. Okay, conclusion. So, ginhawa is culturally is relevant. It's a culturally embedded concept that shapes our understanding, no, of our well-being, our character, our motivation, our life satisfaction, even how we perceive things, and how this translates into certain behaviors and attitudes, no? Particularly with regards the 2 hanap buhay categories. The fact that the respondents are able to compartmentalize ethical judgments about livelihood practices seems to point to an adaptive moral reflexivity. Okay, moral awareness but ethical disengagement. Okay, I'll skip the others. Ginhawa remains a vital thread in understanding overall Filipino motivation, etc. Let's go now to implications for public ad. Number one, so we need a lot of research that looks into ginhawa, I think, no, and its pursuit within the workplace, how it frames our lived experience within the office. Second is we have to recognize ginhawa as a collective aspiration, and perhaps by doing that, we can maybe refrain some of public ad. How do we say this? Dominant paradigms which are Western. So maybe from technocracy efficiency to perhaps a little more towards humane governance, or maybe from compliance to moral responsibility, maybe from external incentive to internal well-being, maybe a lot of values-based intervention there. Number three, integrating ginhawa into public sector theory and practice, I think will expand public administration discourse in the Philippines. We have to ground OD, organizational development, on culturally resonant notions of well-being and life satisfaction. Fourth, it contributes to the continuing effort to indigenize public ad. And recommendations, number one, we need to do more research. So we need to get more respondents to test the instrument again. It will help if we reframe human resource management in the Philippines around ginhawa as a core construct. Perhaps we can integrate also ginhawa metrics into our organizational diagnostics and performance management systems, address ethical ambivalence, develop culturally sensitive well-being and motivation programs. Ito, moral reflexivity trainings. I think we should do that more. Strengthen linkages between academic research and local governance. And this is where I have to say, my thanks to UMak, to CCAPS, no, for allowing this research to happen. So thank you very much. That ends my research.
Thank you very much, Dr. Peñalosa. Ma'am, can you already take your seat together with the rest? May I request VP Cariaga and Dean Joel? Ayan. Okay. May I please call on our VP for Academic Affairs first before we proceed to the... Ay, may tatanong na siya agad. Okay. Grabe. Grabe talaga. Okay. Sir, paupuin mo naman ako sandali. Okay. We'll start with the Q&A. Yes, sir.
Well, that's one of the perks since the budget from this undertaking comes from my college. So I get to ask the first question. And I also want to apologize because this would sound more like a I'm going to perform a function of a discussant rather than somebody who just wants to ask questions. But you're to blame because you made excellent presentations and I think they all deserve a warm round of applause. But I'll direct my question to Carmen, precisely because we come from the same field of public administration. We teach in the same institutions. And there are several realizations that I gathered from listening from you, no? Number one, and please pardon me because this might be medyo madami, no? Number one, I like your take on the use of the Filipino language in creating knowledge. Kaya lang I'm always reminded of how facetious Filipinos can be, no? For example, when you make references to the difference between hanap buhay and trabaho, I'm always reminded with, it's an old Tito joke that there's a difference or there's a similarity between an opisina and a tanggapan. Dahil daw anya dun sa BIR, meron ng opisina, meron pang tanggapan. Or perhaps the more recent example would be DPWH. And you know that opisina and tanggapan are supposed to be the same. But they assume different meanings, no? That's the first observation. The second one, Doc Carmen, is that when you sort of looked at ginhawa as a construct, I realized that it's more inward-looking, it's more personal, and if any, the economic value that people put to ginhawa is very marginal. Okay? And suddenly, I realized, sabi ko, but it sounds familiar to me. And then I looked at the main tenets of ambition 2040, and perhaps the second pillar of Ambition 2040 is maginhawang buhay. And how, do you know how they make a definition of maginhawang buhay? It's basically economic. Achieving middle class status where families are able to afford basic necessities, have one car, etc. So there seems to be some form of dissonance between what the research reveals insofar as how people perceive ginhawa and how the government and perhaps our good friend Arsenio Balisacan has to answer for this when they make conceptualizations of ginhawa. So I'd like you to make a comment about that too. Third would be, and perhaps this is something that wala na si Attorney Jewel, but I have to make a confession about my Western bias as well. Kasi initially when I was listening to you, and I looked at the sort of nuances and how employees feel about doing paghahanap buhay sa trabaho, it struck me as something negative immediately. No? It struck me, quite honestly, as something negative, precisely because your function as a civil service employee should take precedence over racket. I'm also guilty of racket, by the way, no? But it's something that parang ganon, or perhaps I'm just wearing my hat as an academic administrator. And ang dami kong tanong, sabi ko sa inyo eh. Number 4 has to do perhaps with, just to share, it's not really a question. Last night, was it last night? Yeah. I was interviewed by Richard Haydarian, and he was asking for an explanation on what, well, number 1, it's a conversation about corruption. And I told him that corruption did not happen yesterday. There's a long historical timeline that you can look at dating back from the Spanish times when public office was in fact for sale, making no bones about its legitimacy as a preferred method of getting into public office. Talagang sinecures. For sale yun, ha? And hindi yun, they don't do it in hushed tones. It's really open, bibiling ko na yan so that I get position of Gobernadorcillo, etc. And then, for example, when what happened during the Japanese occupation, when stealing from government became some sort of a patriotic act. No? So, ang problema, hindi tumigil doon. It followed through and then it gained, some people just turned it into an art form, especially with the recent discovery in the flood control project. So, perhaps what you said about it, kasi I was dumbfounded about an actual explanation on why corruption persisted. Unlike, for example, our Southeast Asian neighbors, or perhaps even extending to East Asia, Korea had some major problems about corruption as well, but they were able to somehow temper it and manage it. And what you're saying now is the explanation is cultural. And then the question is, may pag-asa pa ba tayo if it's cultural? Kasi it's already embedded in us. Or perhaps if it's cultural and may pag-asa pa ba tayo, buhay pa kaya tayo when something positive would come out of it? So, nakalimutan ko na yung dami ng tanong ko, but that's it. Thank you very much, Doc Carmen, for your indulgence.
Thank you very much, Dean. Actually, sabi ko nga nababagabag ako. But let me respond to a few points that you raised, sir. No, the first one has to do with nuancing of the language. I suppose we cannot take that away. No, and sometimes I myself am very how would you say, uncomfortable with shifting, no? Especially when I'm reporting using an instrument that is in Filipino. But because I know that there are nuances that people attach to language. So say, for example, pamahalaan versus gobyerno. No? When we try to understand these two concepts, I suppose we'll say they're the same, essentially. But pamahalaan, being Tagalog, and having a much longer resonance with Filipinos, no? When did the word government came in? Only perhaps the last 100 years, but pamahalaan has been there for a long time. And the root word of pamahalaan is bahala, no? Which means it's an entity na nababahala sa kalagayan ng taong bayan. And it doesn't talk about any ship where you govern. It doesn't talk about how or the mechanism by which you express yung pagkabahala mo, no? But essentially at the core, you do things that express pagkabahala. So malasakit is one, di ba? Yeah, and some of our politicians know this too well, so they're able to exploit, no? So I think nuancing is also very important. We cannot take that away. We also have to address aspects of that. Also bureaucracy and pamahalaan. Bureaucracy, Filipinos, our concept of bureaucracy is it's static, it has an office. Pero you go down the barrios, people do not regard government as static in one office. They will go to you wherever you are. Diba? Because, you know, it's not bureaucracy. They don't understand it as such, no? They understand as if you're a leader, nababahala ka. And yung pagkabahala na yan, yung pagdulog nila can happen anytime, anywhere, at any instance, no? So, are we setting the boundaries? And when we're setting the boundaries, by whose standards are we, you know, defining institutions? That's a big problem, actually. It strikes at the heart of indigenizing public ad. And I'm just one of those very minor voices, and I think hopefully my small efforts can, you know, hopefully add to that longer struggle. May pag-asa pa ba? And that connects to the may pag-asa pa ba. It's certainly going to be a very long struggle. Many of the democracies that we have now in the world have a very long history of being nation states. So for 100 years, we have only, what, 100 years, maybe, perhaps over 100. So there are 200 years more. And I agree, sir, maybe we will no longer be alive when corruption perhaps will be not as pervasive as it is today. Long history, yes, very, very long history. In fact, I published a paper on the history of corruption in the Philippines, the origins and rise of corruption in the Philippines. It's in the Philippine Historical Association Bulletin, where the theme is governance. And it's true. There was no corruption before the Spaniards came, sir. Corruption we learned from the Spaniards, no? But not we. Our leaders learned from the Spaniards. Okay, and in fact, in the paper, I wrote something like, it resonates with the research, obedezco pero no cumplo. This is something that we learned. They learned. I comply, but I do not obey. So I report to the Spaniards in Spain that I implemented, but actually I'm not implementing. Because what do they know? We're so far away. So flood control, di ba? Obedezco pero no cumplo. The papers are there. No, but you know, there's a ghost project somewhere. Yeah, Rizal, even during his time, took note of the many corruptions that were happening, even 300 years before. So certainly it cannot be resolved. Not maybe in 6 months or 10 years or. We have how many hundreds of years behind us, diba? So, but it doesn't mean that we should not stop trying to contribute to that drive, no, towards a better future. So that's my response, sir. The next one is, yes, ginhawa is very spiritual. I think it's much more spiritual rather than economic. But we also have to address the economic need because it gives people dangal, no? Lumabas yung dangal eh. It's very important when you're able to. Filipinos are very high on social, relational, communal. So social responsibilities, no, practically define who we are. We are integrated in a network of social relationships. And if we fail to comply with what we define for ourselves as obligations and responsibilities, we lose face eh. Dangal is attached to that, to our responsibilities. If government salaries are not sufficient to provide for the responsibilities that we have, you know, no matter how hard civil service says, bawal yan, people will not listen. The dissonance will remain. And so perhaps we can do tokenism in public ad, but that's not really the goal. The goal is to make it relevant, no? And yeah, perhaps we can research like this, no, funded by professorial lectures where you have local governments themselves engaged in wanting to understand administration practices, perhaps can contribute towards that direction, understanding how we can improve. Yun lang, sir. Sorry for the answer. I think it's masyadong mahaba.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Sir Ante.
I hope you will also allow me to ask Dr. Carmen, probably because I'm biased again, I'm also from the public ad. I have actually written 9 questions here, but I will just ask 1 or 2 probably. How can understanding ginhawa or the construct of ginhawa reconcile the tension between bureaucratic professionalism and Filipino relational culture, the culture of moral complaisance? I myself have experienced that as a director of research, no? Yung whenever we are, appreciating published works by faculty, sometimes people would tell us that, pagbigyan mo na yan something, or please naman, magkaibigan naman tayo, things like that, Anyway, so in your view, what should an ethically motivated Filipino public servant look like when guided by ginhawa? So yun na lang po siguro. Thank you so much. And congrats to Doc Joel and BP Cariaga. And Doc Joel pala, you can also help us, the CUR, to look into our existing policies on AI, on academic integrity, and we also have guidelines on the use of AI. So we actually have existing ones, and probably what you can do is to help us improve it if there are things that have to be improved. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's a very difficult question, no? I don't think I can answer that, no, except to perhaps say, that we need more studies along this line, because as I mentioned earlier, no, many of the things we think are not okay have actually very positive Filipino values behind them, no, like yung paghahanap buhay sa trabaho, CSC prevents it, right? Bawal, but look at the reasons, right? Look at all the reasons. So that explains why it's so pervasive. Oo. And unless siguro targetin ka, hindi magre-reportan, no, sa ang mga tao. Yeah.
Outside the country.
Oh yes, that's also true, no? So I think we need a lot of studies in this area. I was mentioning moral reflexivity. How do you combat that? No, combat. Do we even need to combat? That's even a question. No, people know what's right and wrong, but you are able to distance yourself. No, ethical awareness, but moral awareness of what's right and wrong, but you distance yourself, no, from the practice, and you're still able to sleep at night because you distance nga yourself. It has been bothering me for a number of days already after writing the report. I was telling Rante a while ago that I want this to be perhaps my next project. No, what will a moral reflexivity training look like? Kasi what would a values-based maybe training for civil service, no, initiated intervention for government officials look like? I don't know, not yet, not at the moment. But I will not judge these practices as negative. Negative perhaps from the Western bureaucratic point of view, no? But from the culture, the fact that it's so pervasive says something about it. But we're not talking about political corruption, ha? Political corruption is different. is different, no? Yes, also, we're talking about graft. We're talking about things that are happening among local and national officials. Ang hirap din eh, if you're placed in a situation where people appear to your sense of pakikipagkapwa, no? Mahirap, no? I'd like to study that more. Oo. Yeah. So, Rand, I hope I gave you a good answer.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Please proceed to the mic. Yeah.
Hello. I would like to raise, well, actually, my experience. Let's go to healthcare. Masyad tayong ano sa public. But anyway, to be specific and to be precise, I work in a pharmaceutical company before, and it's very focused on compounding. So it's the first FDA approved compounding pharmacy in the Philippines out of 40,000 pharmacies, or what we called it, the dispensing pharmacies, nationwide. And this is related to the students, the workforce. I used to hire pharmacists. 70% of our workforce is actually pharmacists. And the main struggle for us, it's because it's in the Philippines, hindi tayo ganun ka-aware that there's what we call the personalized medication. No? That's the compounding refers to. Sabi nila, ang compounding only can afford are actually the rich. Well, basically, it's true. Kasi the medicines that we have or the healthcare that we get is actually the generic one. Wala yung, for example, you have a very specific medical needs, like instead of what is available in the market, let's say 250 mg, but your body or your needs is only actually 200 or 150. Diyan pumapasok ang compounding. So in our company, my struggle is actually the attrition for the pharmacist. It's because we do not have that compounding laboratories in the Philippines yet that focus on very specific formulation of medication. We invested to our employees. We sent them to Medesca, Australia. Medesca, Australia is one of the global compounding pharmacies who give trainings, no? So ano po siya, end-to-end, from laboratories, SOPs, and so on. So our struggle, because we are the first compounding company in the Philippines, wala kaming comparison. We cannot get comparative from other companies. So the compounding itself, when we used to interview our pharmacists, especially the newly grads, they have the limitation in relation to the hands-on experience in compounding. So, in such a way, kasi na-mention ni ma'am kanina that UMak yet, hindi pa ganun ka-complete talaga sa advance, yes, oo. So, in our case kasi, ang investment, the cost of investment in relation to laboratory equipments, it's not a joke. Malaki po siya talaga. And the company is giving opportunity to train those pharmacists. So sinisend namin siya sa abroad talaga, sa Australia. But here's the point. After a year, nagre-resign na and they applied abroad na kasi the package, let's admit it. No, the rate, of course, kung sa Australia sila mag-work, it's 4 times. We only have the minimum wage, 20,000, 21,000 for the newly graduate or the newly hired employees na kaka-graduate lang. Ma'am, ang question ko, ilang percentage po ba in an actual academic program yung nalalaan for compounding? Yeah.
Okay. Ma'am, question. Yung company niyo po, anong products yung kina-compound? Specifically, may onco ba? Onco
no,
products,
very
no?
specific lang siya sa health beauty and wellness, I think hormonal.
Okay.
It's more of beauty and wellness siya.
Okay. So kung ilang percentage, manufacturing, dosage form. Sabihin na po natin, ma'am, na ang courses allotted to, because the curriculum of undergraduate BS Pharmacy program in the Philippines is generally po yan should be able to address the competency requirements or outcomes requirements of all the practice sites na mainstream, particularly industry, community, hospital, public health, and then institutional pharmacy. So, foundational, okay? So, foundational courses on compounding are given. In terms of percentage, I can't give you a categorical percentage, but I can say that 3 to 4, tama? Dito po mga estudyante natin, meron din tayong, yung ating pong first batch, andito po, may I acknowledge Danny Ramos, isa sa mga alumni po nung 3 first batch. So, Danny is here. So, mga 3 o 4 na subjects lamang po. Now, parang ang concern nyo po is how can we integrate advanced compounding practices in the BS Pharmacy program curriculum? Honestly po, hindi natin na pwedeng malagyan pa ng dagdag na advanced compounding. We can provide foundational, entry-level competencies along those areas that I have mentioned. But ngayon po, if I may give an update, advanced compounding practices can be catered na po doon sa career progression specialization program. Parte na po siya ng continuing professional development. So, tayo po bilang University of Makati, what we can do as mentioned po previously, part po ng strategic plan ng university is to create programs, pwedeng short programs po ito, pwedeng ilagay po natin sa CCAPS kung ito po ay i-contextualize na po natin. No? And pwede nating i-offer po ito na programa para sa mga alumni natin and iba pang registered pharmacists that are into or willing to go into compounding. So particularly po, parang ang compounding kasi nandyan na siya. Parang industry, it's a hybrid of the industrial pharmacy practice and community pharmacy practice po, ma'am. Tama po? So, yun po yung pwede nating gawin. Magki-create na lang po tayo ng programa dahil yun naman na po ang plano din ng ating national pharmacy roadmap. Hindi lamang po nung roadmap pero kumbaga nauna yung meron ng roadmap pero actually meron ng steps being taken na yung profession. So going back to your question of whether we can incorporate it in the undergraduate program, hindi po siya pwede. But we can create pathways aligned with CPD or continuing professional development and then career progression and specialization. So pwede mong mag-progress pag nadagdagan pa po, no? Kasi isa lang po yun, aspeto ng compounding para sa industrial na practice track. So dagdagan pa po yun ng ibang competencies, no? Aligned with that, pwede na pong mag-progress ang practitioners from level 6 na BS, pwede po silang maka-acquire ng level 7. So we're going into that path na po, ma'am. Thank you po.
Thank you. Dr. Peñalosa would like, sorry sir, Dr. Peñalosa would like to go back to Sir Rante's question. Meron lang daw siya idadagdag. Sige, ma'am.
Yeah, very quick lang. And this is me, no? So me not proposing in a in a research, no, for something that a program can be based on, but just my thoughts and how I practice in my office. I go with the bottom line. Okay, I have a bottom line kasi. And so kung may dumudulog sa akin, and it does not, meet the bottom line, I extend a lot of things, support, no? Nagmamalasakit ako, I go out of my way. Even if I have to go rewrite the paper, helping the person on how to rewrite, not write the paper for the person, but to walk the person through with meetouts. I've done that, but so I'm not recommending that kasi not everybody will probably have the same temperament. But I do that. Malasakit kasi is also a very Filipino value that people want to see extended to them. So that's one. And I also experienced initially in my career, if you don't do that, it has real costs, no? Sometimes to your profession, sometimes even beyond your profession, no? Outside, social costs, if you don't show some kind of malasakit, or if you outright reject, say, a paper that is not as good, no, as you wish it to be. And so this is where I think the moral reflexivity training will come in. No, kasi yung moral reflexivity, what I have in mind is to walk people through, an awareness of what is right and wrong. So you don't have to dictate. I mean, I think we have that, no? We're able to decide what is right and wrong. Kaya nga ang taas nung uncertainty dito sa and mixed emotions, ambivalence in the response, because I know the results hint that the 60 feel that while they're doing it, they are conflicted. So initially, ang iniisip ko dyan is perhaps, we walk the employees through, an awareness of what is right and wrong, and how do they know that that is right or wrong. So that could perhaps form maybe some kind of series of modules, I don't know. And then the second would be, okay, so now how do you distance yourself from an action that you think will respond to what's right, even if it will hurt you. So yung distancing, di ba? Kasi alam mong mali, i-insist mo, hindi nga up to standard eh. Pero i-insist mo na dapat tanggapin ng tao. And then you get hurt. That's also very Filipino. We get hurt. We are very high on affective, emotional conflict. So the moment you're hurt, the Filipino is hurt, ang tendency, he takes it very personally. No? And so you cannot be an American working in a government, a Filipino bureaucracy. That's also, so it's an area I think that if we confront, will open a lot of problems. But it will, allow us to face reality, and maybe that can be the beginning of addressing the problem. Yeah, so that's, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes,
Ma'am.
ma'am.
Meron din akong pahabol na sagot doon kay ma'am. Naalala ko lang, ma'am,
Sige lang.
kung gusto niyo po, mag-partner na lang po tayo with UMak so that we will also, di ba? So, baka pwede po tayong makakreate ng program which we can endorse to SICAPs.
Yeah,
Di ba,
very
ma'am?
welcome po yan.
Apo.
Thank you. Sir Pasquito, last one question. Last one question period.
Last one to each of them?
No,
Oh,
just
only
one.
one. Okay.
Sorry.
Actually, my question is one for each of them. Anyway,
Okay.
but I will go directly to Sir Mangaba. While you are presenting actually with regards to the use of AI, you have presented a topic in which you told us about the harm caused by AI. I was actually trying to figure out if on the point of natural sciences, on the point of renewable energy resources, it was included there, but it was not. So I just would like to ask, to reconcile with this, that the use of AI, while it is already being embraced today, in the field of natural sciences, we're actually uncomfortable. Why? Because the use of AI has actually a very high energy usage. It burns so much of our fossil fuels. In fact, the training of AI, because there are so many types of AI, and we know for the fact that meron tayong may lumalabas na mga panibagong AI, but it undergo actually some sort of trainings. Merong mga data centers tayo located somewhere in the world, and isa sa mga nagiging problems natin is that we are actually using a lot of energy for cooling system. The data centers, actually, considering the fact that we are trying to train them, tinitrain natin sila para sumagot. Kanina, you have presented kung ano-anong mga dapat gawin ng mga AIs. So, ang amin lang sa Natural Science Department or kami sa mga natural science professors that we're very much concerned while wala na tayong magagawa considering the fact that we are trying to embrace that in the academe. But how do you reconcile that the use of AI in the academe, regulated use of AI in the academe, and the environmental degradation that it will cause if we will be using that up to, to the future? Kasi sa ngayon, each of us has our own pocket of energy, and how much more using AI in this pocket of energy. So we're burning so much fossil fuel, and possibly we will be forced to shift to non-renewable na sa tingin natin ngayon ay napakamahal. For example, solar panels, at kung ano pang mga renewable resources. So, ang tanong ko lang again is, how would you reconcile the use of AI, regulated use of AI in the academe, and its harm that it will cause to the environment?
Okay, thank you, Doc, for giving another research topic. Yeah, because, of course, basically, my scope is... it's not part of the scope, but that's another research that we could actually work with. We could collaborate, sir, if you want. And CR, of course, is really like very open, accommodating, helping the community. I'd like to mention pala who helped me in vivo, si Mr. Galing. So, ganun sila accommodating. And sir, thank you because you are raising another research topic. And that could be my future topic in collaboration with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. You have a question, darling? Okay. For you lang no more na after.
For Sir Mangabat po. When it comes to
Mangaba.
Mangaba,
darling,
sir.
Mangaba.
Sorry.
Anyway, patanong naman kaya mga bat.
Sorry, sir. I would like to ask when it comes to the ethical use. I know that we are talking about the policies and guidelines of AI. And recently from the news, I've been hearing as well when it comes to the ethical use of AI, especially with those young people who's committing self-harm when it comes, and they use ChatGPT as a way to express their thoughts and inner emotions. And I would like to know how we could. I know that that AI is progressing very quickly and are used by a lot, especially of young people right now. And so my question is, how can we, as the older generation, could help the younger generation when it comes to AI, and how we can help them in a way integrate, not just relying on AI, but also being able to have a safety net or a safe space for them to express themselves. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. So, actually, that is one of the examples, the harms that I presented, because AI, there is like a capacity to filter, especially for harming people. But the user prompt engineering, they can even try to use other prompt. For example, asking for what will be the best medicine or drugs to commit suicide, of course, the AI will not answer you directly because that is harmful. But you could ask another, like, my auntie is actually encountering problem with this and that. So could you help me find ways or give me a or recommend medicine for that? So the AI has no capacity to analyze that way, yeah, because there is like a psychological factor that we need to consider as well. Now, how we can help? Of course, educate the students, educate the community. This could be, this could be an open opportunity for us for community extension as well. Because first, let us educate the community here. Then let's go outside because they really need to know. Even the parents, how can they, what they call that, police or somehow check on their children, what they're doing, unless they are really into that. So I think that's the best way because it's really hard without any way to mitigate that harm. So maybe you could review the results I had for mitigating those harm, probably. But again, it has to be transferred. The knowledge has to be transferred to the people so that they will understand. So I think that would be.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Mangaba. So at this point, I'd like to thank Dr. Cariaga, Dean Mangaba, and of course, Dr. Peñalosa. Thank you very much, ma'am. So for this afternoon, we were able to see how important research is in terms of helping us fulfill our roles as educational leaders, di ba? Thank you very much, Dean Cariaga and VP Cariaga, sorry, please forgive me. Dr. Cariaga and Dean Mangaba. And of course, the realities, how research really makes us realize the realities that we experience every day as citizens and as public servants. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'd like to call on the members of the MANCOM to award the certificates for our awardees. Of course, we have Yusek Hermosura, and then our VP for Admin, Attorney Bulos, and our Vice President for Academic Affairs, Sir Ederson Tapia. Okay, please come up. Okay, Sir Rene. Okay. Of course, we have flowers for our female awardees. Napaka-gendered. Congratulations and thank you very much for sharing the results of your studies with us. Maraming salamat po.